to another crazy podcast. You may have noticed that this week is the same format as last week. Or is it? It is nearly. We have a guest on this week and a different table. Other than that, we sort of stuck with the format because it sort of worked. So yeah, welcome to the JRDF podcast. We are here to answer questions that have been pre-submitted in our Discord server. And we mainly sort of chat our Star Citizen models, of which we're launching 2 this weekend. But we also chat all of the makery things and all the makery projects that we do.
We do indeed. I'm Cals, he's JR. And yeah, it's been an interesting week.
It has been an interesting week. We'll talk a bit about Hearst and Hurt Locker. Anyone who watched last week's podcast, we went through all the Atmo esports trophies, and because the Hearst and Hurt Locker was yesterday, so we've just done these beautiful trophies based on one of these models. And we watched the event last night till about 2:30 in the morning, so apologies if we yawned a bit today because it was a really late night and it's been another long day.
I've never been so grateful for the clocks going back though.
Oh god, yeah.
Because it did mean that actually today wasn't quite as bad as it could have been.
No.
So that wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad. It was a long night, so that's cool.
It was a good night though.
Oh,
it was like
brilliant.
a fantastic race.
And there was
not a race, but yeah,
yes,
event.
a contest. Yeah,
contest.
And it was brilliant. Loads of fun. Really pleased for the winners. I don't know if we've got their addresses yet. We're kind of hoping that some UK winners would emerge, but I don't think that's happened. So they'll be shipped around the world, as is the usual thing. But they're not as heavy as our metal trophies, so at least they'll be a bit easier to post. So that's good. And they fit in a box we already own.
So what else have you been up to this week that you can talk about?
I can talk about. I made some COVID screens. So that's about it. Obviously we're an events company principally, or we're now I suppose a merchandise company because there's no events, but also probably like a lot of events companies that have manufacturing machinery and stuff, we're also making COVID stuff. So I've been making some partition screens for 4-wheel drive vehicles for a company who we do some work with occasionally. And they build big wind farms and stuff. So they're up and down the UK, so we've been doing a batch of 30 for them, and then we'll probably do some more later. But so like everyone else, making stuff to protect us from COVID.
I think we did quite well to get to October, really.
Yes.
Without actually needing to
do
that kind of thing. But it makes total sense. We've got a CNC machine downstairs that actually...
Just getting the plastic. I mean, like getting 2 mil polycarb is very difficult at the moment because everyone's using everyone's using it to make stuff for COVID. Thousands and thousands of a sheet waiting list for stuff. I was waiting like 3 weeks to get a couple of dozen sheets. So it was quite an ordeal. So this week we have in about 10 minutes time, so we'll have time to answer 1 or 2 questions from our Discord, but we have a special guest, Mr. Paul Jones of Cloud Imperium. He is the lead concept vehicle artist. I think I've got that right. So he is director. He is the guy who designed these originally for the game. And he's a big fan. One of his favourites. We'll find out whether it is truly his favourite or whether there's another one he's even more excited for us to do a model of. And he's coming on to chat Cyclones. We've got a few specific Cyclone questions for him. So yeah.
Paul has very kindly given up his Sunday evening to come and chat to us and chill out with us.
So we'll probably talk a bit more about the Hearst and Hurt Locker. I think. So for anyone who didn't watch it, the Hearst and Hurt Locker is an in-game esports event that was on last night, compared beautifully and energetically by Crucian. He's a fantastic esports commentator. I am just a very bad esports viewer because it's just too high energy for me. I am too old for this sort of thing. So it was really good. It was very exciting. The final was brilliantly exciting, and I'd say I can't wait for the game to catch up with the prep for these events to make it a bit easier for them to get together in a tidier fashion. But that's game mechanics that aren't quite there.
It's an incredible. I mean, it's run by a group of volunteers who do it in their own time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's Corsair, who is the director, one of the main organisers, he was sort of like saying that when he did the Daymar Rally, he basically took a month off work to allow him to act because of the amount of organisation that goes into it. And it is incredible. The amount of... Yeah, I mean, I joke about being sort of like a herder of cats, geeks, nerds, etc. But just to try and corral that many people into something. And there wasn't, like, some people didn't realise that they'd got through. There was teams that were like, oh, yeah, no, my kind of like teammates like disappeared.
Yeah.
And they've just left. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. What? So that was interesting.
And the fact they've got all the vehicles, the right crater.
It doesn't help when VIPs try and get on the wrong plane, like get on the wrong ship as well. I recognised people from the server. So I kind of went, oh, excellent, that's where I'm supposed to be. And no, because it was like there was there was the guys from Game Glass outside on the hangar deck.
Yeah.
But I saw Maya.
So you jumped in the Valkyrie.
Yeah. And then it was like, oh dear, I'm not supposed to be here. So run off.
The VIPs are in the wrong place.
But
so you're in the beautifully cruising. That's a loud phone. Beautifully cruising 890 when you just sort of slowly rotating beautifully around the thing, piloted by Dash.
Yes. We joke that I don't play Star Citizen. I don't. I love the community. I love the events. So actually, the in-game events on an 890, so the yacht, with all the sort of like the posh people, I can just this looks very nice. I can see this. This is lovely.
And Luna bought you an outfit and everything?
She did. Unfortunately, she had to go and do a mission because I didn't have enough money in my account to be able to sort of like buy anything. And you offered to send us some money because that's a new mechanic that's in.
We have that, so we sent some
and she's like, no, it's fine. I'll go do the mission. I was like, no, you've got homework to do. It's half term. You've got revision to do. But so that was fun.
Excellent. I think Paul's ready.
Indeed. Shall we bring? Yeah, let's try this.
We just have spinny bricks.
Hello.
I can hear a Paul.
We can hear a Paul.
I just can't see it.
You can hear me, but you can't see me.
Yeah.
No, you're hiding.
Yeah, I should go and see if I can fix that technical issue.
Oh, there we go.
Hello! Yay!
Hello.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect. Just seamless. Absolutely
Indeed.
Seamless. Make sure you lean all the way back because we're going really
I can
big.
see, look.
Oh, good. That's fine. How are you?
I'm doing good, yeah. Just continuing with the long-suffering lockdown that never seems to end in Manchester.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. You're in the high tier, aren't you? You're in...
Yeah, again. I mean, it wasn't like... I didn't really go out much anyway, even when we were in a reduced tier, but I'm getting a little bit bored of it now. I think, 8 months in now, something like that?
Oh, absolutely. Now, the thing is, when we spoke to you 2 months into this, you were really enjoying the working from home thing. Has that changed now? Are you really wanting to be back with your team now?
No, I mean, I love my team, but no. Do you know what? I do love not having to commute. That is such a nice thing. I think that was adding to a lot of stress. But I've got everything I need here. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously we've had the summer, and that's kind of nice because you can just go out to the garden and just, de-stress or whatever, do some gardening. And now winter's come in. I mean, it's what? Clocks have just gone back, so it was dark at 5 o'clock or whatever. So, yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to go, but I mean, overall, it's been a really sort of productive period. Probably my most productive for a long time.
That's good.
Just across the board.
That's good.
Good. That's been good. But I see you guys have been busy. You look like you've got a new studio or something.
We just keep moving round the house, if I'm honest. We just keep finding this wall will work. And we thought, well, we've never actually put shelves in this. So at some point, I'll actually put glass shelves in and we'll start filling this up with things.
Do you remember when you came to see the Dragonfly? We had the pool room. We're basically in the room with the pool table. So you are sitting on the pool table at the moment. So with that side of the house, so that's where we are. It's like the business just takes over more and more of the house. Basically, that seems to just be the way that I'm not wrecking a carpet again, though.
No.
If events come back, I am not putting a Kraken or a Kraken-sized thing on the middle of my nice carpet. It's not happening. Yeah. So
when you build your full-size Cyclone, where's that going to go?
God, I do not know. Okay, so. Look, I have a friend, and me and him build off-roaders, and he's a big fan of 6BT 6-cylinder Cummins diesel engines, and he tends to put them in everything. And it's like I was explaining Star Citizen to him, and I was showing him the Rock buggy, and he was like, "Oh, they look like Unimog wheels. They're 6 studs. We could actually totally build one of these." And it's just like. Let's wait till we've got the model and actually measure up, because Star Citizen vehicles are monstrously big. They are absolutely best. Because we worked out that the Cyclone's about 14 feet wide. So if you actually took it, because when you actually,
it got wider, didn't it?
Well, yeah,
everything does though, doesn't it? Everything gets slightly bigger or slightly longer or slightly taller.
When you look down on the Cyclone, if you see where the 2 seat and they're quite big racing bucket seats. If you imagine that's the normal width of a vehicle, and then you've got that width again on top of it with the tyres and everything, it makes it it would be an amazing thing to see full size. It really, really would. But they're absolutely gargantuan things. And the wheels would probably be 5 foot, 5 and a bit foot, I think, on the Cyclone, something like that. When you stand a character next to it, you realise just how big the whole thing is. Now, the one that will be quite good to do full size will be the Ranger, because that is quite a small, bit like we did with the Dragonfly, but the Ranger has the advantage of it has wheels.
True. It's still quite a big bike. I suspect it might grow a bit too. To factor in a few things that maybe we missed, or maybe we kind of like squeezed a bit of time out.
Well,
but it's
interesting. So I'm only allowed one question, because we've had so many cool questions coming in regarding the Cyclone and the Cyclone model and stuff for you. So I get one question.
Only one question, really?
I get one question, and then we have to pass over to other people. So my question is about the power systems on the Tumbrel. One of the things that I realise when I do these kit models is that I learn things about the vehicles and ships that I've never noticed. Even when they're my favourite vehicles in game and I fly them all the time, I will find things that I've never noticed before. And the thing that struck me most about the Tumbrels is its powertrain. So it has an engine in the front. Now, is that an electric generator? Is that a power plant effectively in the front?
Oh, let me think about this.
I will confess, I gave Paul a bit of a heads up, apart from this one from JR, which is really cruel, and I'm really sorry. I didn't know he was going to do this.
We have the power plant, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the power plant creates electricity. And then I think there's a couple of batteries in it. You're asking a lot here for me to try and dig this out from the depths of my brain.
How long ago?
Everyone knows that I only hold a little bit of information, whatever's relevant. So it's just what I'm working on now, and then when that goes, it just goes, it just gets dropped off.
Because how long ago would you have worked on the Cyclones?
Oh yeah, that is a good question actually.
When did we release it? So, it's I want to say at least 2 years. It all blends into one. I remember being in Germany because I'd gone to Frankfurt to see the weapons team, and Gav was working on it, and so he was doing his submissions, and then I was going through and giving feedback and stuff. So maybe it's 3 years. I don't know. But that reminds me, I do want to correct you. So obviously, I am the art director on this, but these things they're always like these weird sort of mixes of me and Gav often. So it's mainly Gav, and so with these sorts of things, I'll provide the initial direction, and then the way I mean, this is the way I work anyway, is that I like to give the artist as much sort of input as they can. Keeps them happy, keeps them fresh.
No, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Because we're on these things for what, 2, 3, some ships are sort of 6, 7 months.
Wow.
So you want to sort of, I do want to keep them happy. So basically what happens is Gav will make submissions, and then I'll be like, well, I was kind of thinking like this, more like that, and we'll do this sort of, I mean, obviously we've done, I don't know how many ships we've done together now, but I guess it's almost 7 years that we've been working together.
Wow. Because you're
so
one of the
we have this very,
aren't you one of the original CIGs?
Yes.
You've been there for a while.
Yes. Yeah, so I was sort of, I think I was I number 6 in the Manchester studio? So yeah, basically I was hired to, initially I was the squadron art director, and I was hired to sort of build the art team, which I did. So I've been there a long time, but just the way things have transpired, I was enjoying more the concept side and the ship side, and I'm not going to lie, I had a little more sort of control. It's less of a beast.
Yeah.
Squadron is quite a huge project.
And ships are more definitive. They have a start, a middle, and an end.
And I think it was appealing to me, and at the time we were doing so much anyway, so I was on everything. So we had sort of dogfighting maps, and we had the promo, and then we were selling ships, and then I was staffing up the team, and then we were doing persistent universe stuff, and it was kind of like, well, what's the priority? And I was like, well, it's everything.
Yeah.
So it was just it was nice to just sort of narrow the focus. I guess the focus for me basically.
I can totally understand that from where we are, because it's that kind of like, well, technically everything's a priority. It's like, right, okay, recently it's been the Hurst and Hurt Locker trophies, it's been getting these Cyclones out, it's been various other things that we can't talk about and what have you. It's also been home stuff, family stuff, and it's like, actually all of this is important at the moment, and all of it needs to be done now. So looking forward to when this process is in place, and actually you can focus a little bit more, because you know that actually what you get done is so much better.
You feel like your brain can actually, you can work through problems rather than having to jump from one to another and try and keep on top of it all. So
because I
imagine it's the same. Sorry, I imagine it's the same for you guys. You're going to have to start implementing a pipeline for like when you get a kit and working out, and then putting your sort of schedule on it. Okay, it takes 3 months for something like this. A big one takes 6 months. A huge one takes however long. I guess that's the ideal, right?
The huge ones we usually get about 4 weeks, don't we?
Yeah, if we say a huge one is a project for you guys, it's like, oh yeah, can you turn this around in 6 weeks? It's like, okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, fun and games keeps us on our toes.
No, I don't envy it.
Yeah, well, it's all good fun. At the end of the day, we can get away with a lot more mistakes on a big project than you guys can. Because if our doors don't open properly, it's a little bit of an annoyance on a model. If your doors don't open properly, then it doesn't work in the game. So you get a lot more detailed criticism of your work than we do. So yeah, you guys have a harder time with it. You also have a lot more critics than we do. So I don't envy you either. So that's that. Right, so
we're used to it now.
Well, yes, that is true. It must be water. To be honest, if you guys haven't got a thick skin now, I think you'd have left already. I don't think...
I mean, to my sort of philosophy is that I generally stay off
the
forums.
No, I think that's probably
right. Because it's, I mean, and often people have a lot of good feedback anyway. It's just when you've spent 3 or 6 months on something, and then you've just released it, and then there's a flood of I could have done this, or you should have done that. You don't really want to know, because you're kind of done with it. So you're just like, well, it's moved. It's like it goes on to the next team now, but you you also sort of, you're quite invested even at that point. So you kind of, so basically I just sort of shield myself.
I think that's wise.
Just keep,
I think it is
just
wise.
keep moving.
Yeah.
Just keep moving on.
Yeah. So, some questions. Now, back when we used to stream in the old format, we had 2 questions that we asked all guests. So, the first one, if you could serve under any captain, who would you pick?
I see. I mean, it was a good question, actually, because I really had to sort of think about it. I mean, my wife's a big Trekkie. She loves... So for me, I mean, I generally, I'm less of... My sort of personality is I'm less about favourites. I am quite sort of fluid about stuff, but I think if I had to pick, it would have to be Picard, I think, for Star Trek. And probably Holden from The Expanse.
Yeah, he's a good choice.
Kind of make those two. Depends what mood I was in, but they're both, both good captains, aren't they?
They are. No, they are.
I'd be happy to work for those people.
2 very good choices.
So,
yeah, that's cool. And what is your favourite spaceship? So that can be. We've had some previous answers have been Star Citizenships.
Well, Mickey picked the Idris, didn't she?
She did.
So
she did.
CRG people have picked CRG ships. That is perfectly allowed.
But it can be
really?
from telly, it can be from films.
I think
it can be from a different computer game.
Yeah, I think she picked the Idris because she'd done a lot of QA stuff on it at the time, and she'd been really invested in it and sort of knew it up and down, and just was really into the ship at the time. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Idris. I mean, it is a great ship, but I don't know. There was, in those early years of CIG, there was a lot of hardship with that ship. So,
too many painful memories.
It has a special place in your heart, but you also want it to go to hell, yeah?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, it has turned out fab, but it's, I guess it was the first of the really complex multi-crew ships, and it was, we were working out the pipeline, and originally how we were making assets just wasn't suitable really for what Chris ultimately wanted to achieve. So there was a lot of redos and stuff. But I think, I'm not going to pick a Star Citizenship. I mean, this is funny because me and Gav have these funny conversations. Because often people, when we're doing ships, they're making reference to other well-known things. And I have this sort of mantra with Gav. I'm like, look, none of those guys, model makers, set out to make an iconic spaceship. They were just looking to make something cool.
Yeah.
It became iconic. And so I'm always like, we just focus on ourselves and what we could do. And if in 10, 20 years, people are going, oh, remember that Star Citizenship? That was really cool, right? Then great. But sometimes I find, there's too much sort of harking back to the past. However, in answer to this question, I think if it was a game ship, I would have to go properly old school, and it would be the R-Type ship. Remember the arcade game R-Type?
Yeah.
But not because of its art or its design, more of its function.
Yeah.
So, yeah, me and my mate, we just played the heck out of that. We were always in the arcade, just pounding coins into it, never really getting far.
Misspent youth.
Yes. I mean, it was the Isle of Man. There wasn't much to do on the Isle of Man. Had to drive 18 miles to get to the arcade. And you can drive when you're 16 in the Isle of Man, so it just make it a bit better for when you're a youngster. But I think if it's a film spaceship, I'd probably go again old school, because I think it's because of when you're growing up, your exposure has been a lot less to those sorts of things, so they have a bigger impression. So it'd probably be a mix. I think the
stream is back up yet.
We shall see. I'm just reading through some of the comments that have been on while we were chatting, because I wasn't really watching it. And Twitch couldn't handle the awesomeness. But you are Isle of Man. No wonder. Isle of Man. Paul's just gotten even cooler. No wonder he's into bikes.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now. Paul is talking a lot of sense.
Do you want me to sort of like frame that for you?
Yes, I'll have it as one of my positive affirmations.
Yeah,
I've got one on the wall in front of me. It's kind of funny. Well, it's not funny. It's just for me, basically. Oh. But I look at it every day and I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we are back.
We're back live.
Apologies, folks. We had internet issues. So
basically,
something happened. Something good. We got as far. I heard as far as Millennium Falcon.
Okay. So what I was going to ask was it vehicle or spaceship?
Spaceship.
Spaceship. So yeah, I think it's a tie-up between the Millennium Falcon and Slave One, I guess. I guess those are the two sort of formative ships. I mean, there's a lot of good ships. I guess when you get to my age, I don't know. I feel like I feel like a bit of an old git, and I feel like I've seen everything. So you start to get a little bit blasé.
It is. I think you're right. The things become iconic, and they probably didn't put anywhere near as much effort into designing those ships back then as your ships. Now, one of the things that we try and explain to people about doing models of CIG ships, it's a really different process because you guys are designing ships for a computer game. You have a huge amount of ability and a huge amount of resources to be able to do it. You can design pretty much whatever you want as long as it's in your imagination. You guys have the skills to do it. Back in the day, those original iconic ships were in the hands of physical prop makers because the director needed, right, I need a Millennium Falcon to do film model work with, to do the special effects for a film. So a lot of the design of those ships, Star Trek, Star Wars, was down to what you can make a physical model of to start with, and then they became iconic from then. So the reason there's a lot of merchandise and toys of Star Wars and Star Trek ships is they started life as a model and then became a famous CG thing. And we're trying. The issue we have is we're trying to do it the other way around. It's just like you guys don't have to think about building it. Yeah, but.
I thought it was quite good. Someone, and this wasn't a posed question by me, but it was a case of, so when you're designing a vehicle, do you literally just think about how it looks and that cool factor that you were talking about you and Gav kind of bouncing stuff back and forth? Or do you factor in things like the physics of how things will actually work in the future? Or does that go to the next team for them to work out whether or not it's actually possible?
Yeah, I mean it's changed over the years. So still to this day, not quite sure how Chris got so much done in those early years. And there was, they didn't have metrics and stuff, but there was still a lot of thought going in, and obviously, there was some massive heavy hitters working on that, like Ryan Church and Eddie Del Rio and stuff. So they'd got the chops anyway, but I think, what's different now is, we have the metrics and we know, we know how Star Citizen is meant to operate and, how the player's meant to interact and stuff. But, I think, initially, speaking for myself, it was, I've said this before, I said it recently, I really didn't know a bugger all about spaceships when I first started. I thought I did. And then, I'd worked on Battlestar, I'd worked on Star Trek, I'd worked on Star Citizen, going way back, and then so I was just like, oh yeah, let's just do this, no problem. But then I found out sort of the level of fidelity that Chris was pushing for, and it just became a whole different ball of wax.
You had the inside had to fit inside the outside, which doesn't always need to happen in TV and film and stuff. It's like, well, it looks about right,
Yeah, no TARDIS magic.
Even yeah, exactly. So I mean, thankfully, So it's a mix now. I mean, it's part of the pipeline in terms of, um, yeah, it has to work. I mean, and some of the ships are fully defined by their functionality, right? Some are just simpler, right? So they're the ones you can, sort of really sort of concentrate more on the forms. But even, I think even like stuff like the mole, um, what we achieved on the mole, I'm still really proud of, like, because it was quite a complex, well, it was a complex ship,
Yeah.
and there were many routes we could have gone. And again, it's that, it's always that tussle, right? So my job is to get Chris options that he can make choices on, basically. And so I'll give Gav sort of high level briefing of, here's the sort of shapes I'm looking at, here's kind of the here's the vibe, here's the things that I'm keen on seeing. And I kind of give him like a sort of kit, and the rest of it is missing, and then he fills in the blanks. And so that's the kind of way we work. And then so he'll then submit to me maybe like 4 or 5, and then I will, I'll dig in, as I say, basically. So I'll take his files, and then if there's stuff I'm not happy with, then I'll start rejigging stuff, and then we'll have these discussions. And so it's pretty good. It's a pretty good process. Gav seems really happy with it.
I'm thinking, excellent. We can kind of like get Gav on a show in the future. And kind of go, right, okay.
He
so,
can disagree
what's your
with all of
favourite
this.
ship,
Oh,
Gav?
God,
It's
Paul
like, right,
James
okay.
is such a nightmare.
Yeah. No, he won't say that. I'll pay him.
I do find it fascinating because, like, especially with ships like the Mole, that it's like it is 100% functionality that has to work so well in game as a multi-crew ship. It's got to work in, for ground mining, asteroid mining, general mining. It's like to try and find a beautiful looking, succinct design within the sort of art style of a particular in-game manufacturer, and it all to work. It's like, oh man. It is phenomenal.
I mean, the Argo stuff is kind of developed really quite nicely, because it was. And before I forget that, obviously there are other concept artists who work on our stuff. Just talking about Gavin.
No, you heard it here. It's just Gavin Paul.
But the Argo was actually the very first ship that I worked on, and that was with our in-house concept artist Stuart Jennett. He's moved on since, but and so that was, again, that was early days, and it was just like, oh, make something cool. And it was a bit like a mini Chinook in a kind of way, and then it was after that. What was the next one? The SRV, was it?
Yeah, the big tow truck.
Yeah, and that one was really quite nice, and so we had an opportunity to sort of just pull some of the key shapes from there, and I think we've shown pictures of an even bigger ship that never made it.
There were some sneaky pics of. I can't remember when it was. It was part of the roundup, I think, of Ship Showdown roundup. They were put out of that massive Argo ship.
Was it round?
It was round. It was indeed round.
Right. Yeah. So that one didn't make the cut, and so we then moved on to very different shape, and then so the stuff we took from that we then reintegrated back into the SRV, and then what was the one after that?
I think the Mole was
the Mole. I guess.
I don't think we've had another one.
So we've had quite a lot of. We've had good brand consistency with that.
Have you always been trying to sneak in a big flying saucer then into Star Citizen? Is there a desire to do a big round ship?
I would love it. Do you know what I mean? I keep sort of saying to John Crew, "Come on, let's do it," and just falls flat every time. So I might have to try a different route. Might have to go through Ian and just. Let's just put like something in the environment.
There's something cool about it, and it harks back to the whole Star Trek thing. It's just like when the dish separates from the main body, it's like, oh, it's a flying saucer. How had that never clocked that it is just a flying saucer with a big engine on it? It just, there's something inherently sci-fi about a flying saucer. It's brilliant. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. It's such a, a circle is such a strong shape. Do you know what I mean? So, straight away, just like flying saucer.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what the detail is. It's flying saucer.
There are some beautiful space stations that you guys have got now that have the big flat rings. The sort of that do sort of have that. Again, they just look so strikingly sci-fi when you approach them, because that is it's just an inherently sci-fi shape. It is gorgeous. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Environment team, they're knocking it out of the park at the moment. I don't know how they do it. It's just like keeping up that pace of delivery. Is obviously everyone knows the Star Citizen is not your usual project. So,
no, not by any stretch, is it?
They're doing good stuff.
They are indeed.
You all are?
Yeah.
So, where are we? So I managed to blackmail you into coming on because you wanted number one, or you asked if you could have number one, and I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. So we've been asked, which are you going for? Are you going for the RC or are you going for the TR?
It'll be the RC version. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously the other one, it comes with a weapon and stuff, and but I think also it might have been, I don't know, like, it's probably the red as well. Like, red is one of my, I won't say it's in the, it's in my top colours, of what I would choose. And so I have gone, I think I was telling you, Kels, I've gone all in. So I am going to, I bought my airbrush, I bought my compressor.
Nice.
I've dug out the old inks, and it's.
You sent me a picture,
and we'll see what happens.
Paul sent me a picture of the in-game screenshots that he'd taken of the ship of the vehicle in different poses for sort of. And I was like, excellent, cool. I don't actually need to do that for the website anymore. I can just use the ones that Paul's done.
Well, so, it does bring us on to a question, because this is something that hasn't been finalised yet. Is obviously the RC, one of the features that's going to come with the kit on the RC is a huge decal sheet. Usually we put the decals that we need for the ship, but because it's a racer and it's sponsored by loads of in-game companies, we're going to do like a full A5 decal sheet for it. So are there any in-game companies? I've decided I'm not going to do other ship manufacturers, because I think that gets a bit confusing if because obviously there are RSI vehicles and stuff. So not ship manufacturers,
it's normally
components. It's like components, weapon manufacturers, and other things like Sakura Sun and that kind of stuff. So what would be your principal sponsor on your?
The one I always really love to stick on is Yorm. Because it's ridiculous logo with the smiley face. I think it's just I guess that's just been part of my campaign to just get ridiculous stickers on, because obviously, because space, what have we called it? Space Kitten. That was basically
Star Kitten.
Star
Kitten. Yeah, that was me basically. I think that that decal sheet will be good. I mean, to be honest, I had a plan B. I was just going to make my own if you guys didn't. If you didn't have what I was after.
Tell us what you want. It's fine.
We'll definitely put Yorm on the list. I say because it is that whole thing. There are so many in-game companies now. There are and it's all part of that amazing patchwork of it. And I do think the RC, more than any of the other ships that we've done, delivery on a racer is always one of the most important things about it. It's go faster stripes, and people can really go absolutely nuts with the paint jobs and paint schemes on it. And it's out of all the ships in the game, it's obviously, I think, that and the Razor and the other races will be the one that people desperately want to have more options to customize and pick the sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully our model will satisfy that in the meantime.
I mean, it was funny because it was, I was thinking, what, I was basically choosing it based off the color, and then I was like, do you know what? I'm the bloody art director, so I could actually, if I want, I'm gonna paint it whatever color I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the reasons why we thought actually kit models works quite nicely, given the mechanic coming in terms of you can paint your ships whatever colour you like. That actually it works quite nicely. But it's surprising how many people go, no, that's the colour it is in game. Therefore, that's the colour I'm going to do it. And they're quite attached to it from that point of view.
I mean, it looks good, so. But I've been genning it. You know, I've been watching YouTube. You know, I've just gotten ridiculous. I've been watching. There's a guy. What's he called? Night Shift, I think is. But he paints tanks. But anyway, he has some amazing weathering techniques. So I'm toying whether to just go like properly all in. There's levels of all in, right?
There is. So, there's definitely levels.
You know, I've even bought like an old Tamiya model to work on just to get back into the flow, because I bought like 15 years ago. I was building like a Ducati 888 model, and I'd again went full obsessive, and this was This was kind of like an earlier version of myself, where I was quite a perfectionist and not very good at things going wrong. And one night,
How do you fix that, Paul?
Yeah, we'd all love to know how you fix that. Yeah. How do you fix that?
Well, you have to prepare yourself for it to go wrong.
Yeah.
So, and not have ridiculous expectations of it going right first time. That definitely helps. And so, I'd done like 5 coats of paint on this thing, and it was looking amazing. And I put the final coat on. I think it was down to the weather. I was in the attic and it was too cold, and it basically all cracked. And I was so annoyed with it. I just put it all in a box and just went boom. Just got rid of it. So. When we moved back from the States to here, the only bit that I kept is the swing arm and the chain, because the chain I did every single link.
Wow! I can't wait to see what you do with this. Then we're like.
So yeah, I'm setting horrible expectations here. So I guess we'll see what happens. But it could be a long time. Could be a long wait.
Yeah.
So if we could make anything, or if we could make any of the ships that either you've worked on or that you love within Star Citizen, what would you have us make?
Oh, that is a good question. Well, obviously you've just made one. Obviously the Cyclone. I think that's probably my favourite.
Okay, it's nice to know that actually we've like one tick out of all of it. Because when we've asked the question, it's kind of like, right, okay, I've asked JC before, and his choice is a long way off. Carl Jones is like, yeah, okay, well, it needs to not be concept for a start before I can even look at it.
That's a real tricky question. I mean, I don't know. I think it would be a lot of pain for you, but I think it's the mole again. I don't know why I'm so drawn to it. I think it's just there's a lot of things about it that I like, and its overall forms and its colour. I mean, orange and black, what's not to love?
Oh no, absolutely. And I am a big fan of the mole, and it is one of those ones I do look at it and go, I don't even know where I'm going to start with that one. I really don't. It's got because one of the things we always try and do is try and get it so people can model it and display it in any of its states, and its movement between flight state and landed state and mining state. It has the third state of its deployed mining stuff, as well as it's sort of like quantum traveling. I was like, oh man, there's so many moving parts, but it would be quite a big model. So the bigger physically the bigger the model, the more room you've got for all those moving parts and stuff. So it's certainly very doable. But yeah, God,
I suspect it's a bit niche, though. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure there'd be
that is the other thing. That is the other thing. But saying that, I think the mining ships and the reclaiming ships, yes, they get a nice big jump when they first come out, they first go in game. But I think these industry careers, when all those mechanics are in and the game is in proper flow, will be hugely popular, because they're going to be the grinding player kind of career arms that people are really going to get into. So I do think ships like the Mole will be hugely popular ships. Same with the Reclaimer later on, when those mechanics are all fully implemented and we can buy and sell, and you know, it's really important. So they'll have.
I mean, we have done some ships recently that aren't announced that would be quite nice, but obviously you can't talk about them. But
no,
we'll catch up in the week.
Yeah, no. But it is that whole thing. Is like one of my dream goals is to be able to launch a kit model along with the launch of, you know, a particular ship in game, and, you know, as a surprise, and you can get it. And realistically, the only way that will ever happen is not necessarily as a surprise ship, but like a squadron ship or something like that, because you guys design these ships and you do not sit on them. You know, you get them down to the wire and get them in a patch, and they are designed right up to the 11th hour, and then they go in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be the ideal, right, is that it's not down to the wire.
Yeah, but we don't live in an ideal world.
Well, I think that's, you know, I think give it more time, and I think hopefully these things will come into place. I mean, because it's always nice if things can sort of sit for a little bit, and then you're able to then sort of reflect on it or fix, you know, not jamming the fixes, but just like, oh, you know, just in a regular day job, just chunk away at it and just polish it.
Well, give QA a few months to actually play with it and find, you know.
Oh yeah, poor QA. I mean, they have so much to deal with. Like, I would not want that job.
No.
Nope. I think some people actually think that, like, the QA people have the sweetest job in the world. It's like you're being employed to play the most broken thing, and then when you find where it's broken, have to keep breaking. Just like, it is the worst job for a gamer, in my opinion. It's just it's
like Groundhog. It's paid Groundhog Day. I mean, I mean, to be fair, I've never, I've always been an artist, so I've always, been in the art track, so I've never actually worked in QA. So I don't actually have hands-on experience, but yeah, from what I see, it's I'm not sure I could do it.
No, it's you've got to really feel passionate about the project, and I understand. At the end of the day, you're doing detective work. You're finding faults and then trying to report them in a way that people can fix them, and that's a completely different skill to gaming. It is, the other way of looking at it. No, fantastic.
Last question. We kind of talked about it because we were talking about kind of when we were saying about things that got missed and that what have you. If there was to be an in-game ship museum that showcases earlier versions of ships and perhaps some early design concepts that didn't quite make the cut, what one iteration would you love to see?
This was a really good question, actually, because I think if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I probably would have been able to give you an answer. So I mean, this is the beauty of working with Chris, right? Is we've had it on a ship recently. We did 3 complete rounds on it because it wasn't what he was after, and they were all really good. Like, there was nothing wrong with them. They were all actually really strong. Just he had a bit of a curveball for us to sort of try and get. The annoying thing is that he's often right. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I look back...
Yeah, how annoying those people are then.
When I say annoying, it's just like, I wish, I'm just thinking, why didn't I think of that? Like, why? I wish I'd had that thought. But I think that's just part of the process, right? Is that, and often it's, it's just down to preference, isn't it? So it's what Chris has in his head.
Yeah.
Wasn't in my head, and I can't. I've tried to be a mind reader in terms of like understanding how he works and what he looks for, which is why we do the multiple options, because I think I'm starting to realize that sort of 9 times out of 10 he'll pick the one that is not the one I want.
But I must admit, it's one of the things I hate the most is having to come up with more than one solution to something. It's like the whole goes. You focus on a solution. You go, I love it, and then you have to go right now. I need to come up with a difference, but I really like that one. And it's how do you make those other 10, the other 9 or the 3 or whatever, be as good?
I mean, that's very much the sort of role of the concept artist, and it's it's really just about training your brain in terms of. Yeah, you will always have your favorite, but then you've got to look outside the box. I mean, and I guess with sci-fi, there's a lot of leeway in terms of being able to sort of look outside of the box. I mean, sci-fi is quite hard because you have to redevelop everything. Like, just absolutely everything is you've got to redesign. Once you get into it, I mean, so once you basically can't be too precious about it, because when you're precious, you hold on to something then, and then that becomes that impedes your progress. And so, I think I definitely, that's been part of my journey, and because how this art director role works is different to other game companies. Normally it's when you're the art director, the buck stops with you, so it's whatever you like. That's it. Yeah. Looks great. Yeah. Move forward. On we go. Whereas it's not that here. So, but once you get your head around it and you understand the sort of it's chain of command, isn't it? And it's very much movie-like. In the way that they work, and obviously Chris loves his movies, and he sort of works more as a movie director than a traditional game director.
I can't imagine the answer to this question is going to be no, we've done it by fluke, but you've put out so many ships now, done so many. I mean, when you sort of think, if you've done that many different iterations of every ship that there is now in game, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of permeations that you have put in front of people to make decisions on. How do you avoid, in sci-fi, even without intending to, designing a ship that already exists, designing a Serenity, designing a Millennium Falcon, designing is that all the way through your head all the time? It's like I know what the solution is because it's the Serenity, but I can't design the Serenity.
So This is a funny one, because obviously there's a few out there which have caused controversy. Obviously there was the Vulture, that was a big one. Yeah. And that I swear, hand on heart, that design originally came from me, and that was born out of functionality and gameplay, because we'd done some really early ones, and that was the one where Chris had described. He said to me, he congratulated me on designing the ugliest ship to date.
That's brilliant.
And it was meant to. And to be fair, it wasn't meant to be pretty. No. It wasn't. It was meant to be like a transit van, like this little flying transit van buggy thing. He just wasn't what he had in his head, so he killed it. Stone dead. It's just like, okay. Sometimes you'll get it where a concept artist, especially if they're sort of early on in their sort of journey, will get stuck, and so what'll happen is I will just put everybody on it. So like, right, you can all have a crack at this. Like you've got one day to come up with a solution.
Wow.
And see what you come up with, and so. I was like, right, I might as well have a go at this, and so it was that. So it was just bouncing ideas around, and we came up with the twin spar. And I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool if when you're doing your recycling, whatever, cutting away stuff, it's coming along and it's coming towards you, and it's a very visceral experience. And that was it. And then you merge in sort of caterpillar styling, and then where the engine's got to go and the collector. It kind of makes itself. And then so when it came out, that people were like, oh, it looks like this other ship, we've copied it. I was just like, oh, we haven't, but I can't, I'm not going to moan about it. It's just one of those coincidences. and we've had it, but then we have made a mistake, or I made a mistake, where I guess it was the Prowler. It was too close to an existing ship, and I think I was too busy at the time, juggling too many things, and I sort of took my eye slightly off the ball. I mean, the ship came out awesome, but obviously everyone can kind of sort of see its heritage. But thankfully we've been able to sort of shift away.
But it's so difficult because I think that the Vulture is such a great example, because I had never seen the ship that everyone said it was copied from before that moment. It was a ship in another computer game, and you look on the internet and you get those massive ship size comparison charts. You're just like, holy crap! There's a lot of spaceships in the world. Between film, TV, science fiction games. Like, how the hell can you know all of those?
Yeah, exactly. And like, obviously the concept artists, that they are sort of, it's their job, so they're always doing a lot of looking and sort of seeing what's out there. But I generally sort of try and sort of stay off looking at other people's spaceships. Like, you might sort of have a quick look and just sort of see what's out there, and so you know what not to do. But often because we're informed by functionality, it kind of decides itself. I mean, it depends. Obviously you've got the manufacturer style guides, and so it can be difficult. It's more, I think it's easier for me because I'm less entrenched in popular sci-fi. I'm not looking at it all the time. I'm not playing it, and I'm not watching it. It's more that I have to keep an eye on what my team is doing. Just make sure. Where are you getting your references from? What's So it's more just putting those checks and balances in. But I think that's also why I really love the Tumbrel stuff, because that was the first human manufacturer that I got to define, basically.
Nice. Yeah.
So all the other ones have been worked on by Chris and etc. And so obviously we had the Esperia Prowler, and that was a new alien ship. But the Tumbrel was basically okay. And it was one where there was a big shift in thinking, at least for me anyway, of just, okay, let's approach it properly.
Yeah.
Like, it's a vehicle, what does it need to do? And that really sort of defined it, and just sort of the multi-layered structure and the materials, and really sort of pushing it. And then Gav brings his stuff, and then sort of makes it even better.
Well, people who put this model together will realise just how much the two of you put into the design of it. Every single bit fits together and makes complete sense. Nothing is faked. And that's what I love most about all your ships. Everything makes sense. If there's a big hydraulic cylinder, there's somewhere for it to go away to. It actually works, and it actually folds out, and it's absolutely brilliant. I just want you to think about, as you go forward, with just feel a little bit sorry for all the other people that are in all the other companies having to go, we've got to design a spaceship and it can't look like any of the 155 spaceships you've put out. You guys are plastering it all over. It's like, how do we avoid all of those styles of spaceship? Otherwise we'll be accused of stealing from SC. You must be making their lives miserable.
And then when you go on Pinterest or something, just type spaceship, it's just like Star Citizen.
Absolutely. You guys you'll have put out more sci-fi ships than probably every other genre put together eventually.
I did quite like it that, I'm a bit Pinterest obsessed for all sorts of things, but I was quite excited when I saw one of our kit models that had been put together on
on Pinterest.
And I was like, yay, someone's pinned one of ours. It's like, yeah, right. Okay.
I joke that at some point Callie's Pinterest is just going to become the internet again. Because at some point there are so many pins that you need to Google within it, so it sort of loses the point of its existence. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Little Pinterest obsessed.
I'm just going to say it's 8 o'clock.
It is 8 o'clock. We should get going and put this model on sale. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting Cyclone and concept art, the whole how you guys actually do all this concept art. It's been absolutely fascinating.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for having me. And I mean, thanks for making this model. I think, you know, I say, you know, obviously I haven't got it yet, but, you know, I'm really looking forward to it, you know, and then in 6 months, I'll either be cursing you or I'll be sending you pictures.
Well, we do have free spare parts service on the website, so if anything does go horrifically wrong, you can always get free spare parts for it. So it's all good. It's all good.
Sounds like fun and games. So
it does.
Yeah, I'm not going to rush it.
We can't wait to see it.
No, it's going to be cool.
Me too.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely. It's been a really fun evening.
It has indeed, and hopefully we will see you in the flesh at some point in the not too insanely distant future. We'll actually get to come down back to the office and see you guys.
Maybe I don't know. Like if I can swing it, I may never go back to the office.
What, Gav will just come to yours for the occasional meeting, and it's like, right, okay, there you go.
Well, we've worked remotely for nearly 7 years, so I mean, it's like we haven't skipped a beat, and you know, now with all the other, you know, with Mike Oberschneider, who we work with as well, he's contract. Nick Cavaco on weapons, he's contract. So, you know, I have like a whole pipeline just set in place for dealing with.
Oh, well, you well sorted. Well sorted. Fantastic.
Yes, but we should meet up definitely.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Indeed. Right, I'm going to go and
thank you for having me. So.
Cool. No, fantastic. Thanks so much. Have a great evening, and you'll get your tumbrel very, very soon.
All right, thank you.
No worries. See you.